Ashonregu, I am the first female speaker of Lagos State Youth Parliament, the youngest youth parliament speaker in Nigeria, and also the deputy chairperson of the Conference of State Youth Parliament speaker in Nigeria. So first, I would like to congratulate you on your emergence as the
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
All right, so we'll straight to have the fireside chats. So can I welcome at this time to take us through, to take the Deputy Governor through the fire chats. Join me as I welcome Victoria Banjo, another fellow of the Lagos Youth Development Institute 2025 court. Please put your hands together for Victoria Banjo as she comes on stage.
Victoria Banjo, please can we have you? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I acknowledge all protocols already observed. My name is Victoria Banjo, and I will be the one moderating this fireside chat. Right, so we are all gathered here today for a conversation on the theme building the future of governance through youth participation. And this session hopes to explore how young people can actively participate in the future of governance and how leadership can take process into that particular light. So, good afternoon, sir. So, please, ladies and gentlemen, with warm welcome and with a very resounding applause, please join me to formally acknowledge His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Padre Obafemi Hamzat. Thank you. Yes. So, sir, before we start, I would like to really know if we have youth seated here in our midst today. Youth, are we ready? Yes. Build the youth. Build the youth. Dr. Obafemi is not smiling, no, we're not doing it well. Build the youth. Yes, so thank you so much. So thank you for joining us here today. So I'll be moving to the first question. So Your Excellency, we know that Lagos is often described as a center of excellence, and having previously been involved in works and infrastructure, as well as driving the team's agenda, you have had a front row seat in the systems that shape daily lives today, right? So for many young people, however, daily realities still include transport challenges, housing pressures, and even economic insecurity. So in that context, what does excellence in governance mean in practical terms today? And how close do you believe Lagos is to achieving that standard?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. So build the youth. So we will need to build the nation by really talking to ourselves. Thank you very much. You know, please sit down. If you are not excited, stand up.
You know, sister, very down. Wonderful.
I don't know what excites you. So I'm really very excited. When I came into this room, I was intimidated by the sheer number of young people. I think it was Dr. Is it D1? D1 that said that he was so happy that a lot of youths in this room want Nigeria to move. But how do we move Nigeria? You will recall, a lot of us, we should possess information. If you recall, years back, the current president of this country was saying we must do federalism. Everybody was abusing him. He said we must do federalism. So the question you ask, if you go anywhere in the world, New York, London, everywhere, Bogota, federal government, usually pays about 60% of public transportation for major cities. So look at London. It's the British government that pays 60%, but that's not the case in Nigeria. In Lagos, it is the only subsidiary in the world, this entire world, that built that rail system on its own. Around the world, it was the federal government. Because you cannot, America will not be America without the city of New York. Because that's the financial center. So where is the financial center of Nigeria? So why is it that Lagos does not have that special status? That's the question. And this my brother said that, he said one Yoruba, he said, Amuku, Ẹrù Ẹwọ́, Ikundo, Odolegba, Ẹni Ọ̀rọ̀ Ẹwọ́ Lẹ́sọ̀. So Amuku, Ẹrù Ẹwọ́. So those are the things that the president is trying to correct, but it's not going to be easy. Those people that are taking the bottle to take it from them, Majao, those are the ones fighting now because they are rich, they are powerful. For you to take that feeding bottle from them is going to be a challenge. So to answer your question, Lagos pride itself today by Veraica Survey 2025. Lagos is now the capital of startup in Africa. We've taken the example. So the report is there. You can check it out. So what does that mean? We must build the economy of this state. I will give you a statistics. The population of Lagos is 24 million today. Population of the city of New York is 8 million. We are the same human being. The budget of Lagos 4.4 trillion. That's how much? That's $3 billion. The budget of NYPD, just the police, in 2025 is 7.9 billion. So the budget of NYPD police alone is 2 times the budget of Lagos State. The budget of Metropolitan Transit Authority, New York City, not state, is $26 billion. That's how much? You know mathematics. So that's, if our budget is 26 billion, that's $23 billion more than the total budget of Lagos. So something is missing. So how do we make sure that we increase that basket? Without economic prosperity, there cannot be happiness. So what the federal government is doing now, what the state government is doing is how do we now increase that basket? How do we increase that prosperity? When the federal government say, oh, we are changing the tax, a lot of people disagree. Fine, we are in a democracy. But our laws, our tax law was 1956. That was before independence, given to us by white men and women. How is it that we cannot change our own law to suit us? In 1956, there was no internet, no Instagram, no this, no that. So how are you using a law built in 1956? And the president is saying, let me look at it, let's change it. But people will fight because it pays some people. When we remove the subsidy, we know that there will be impact. But look, we cannot continue to keep the car. When you keep the car, you are putting it there for your children. Right? In 1983, I'm sure a lot of people who are here, they are still with God. They are still with Baba God, right? In 1983, there was a report, and they were interviewing one of the greatest entrepreneurs in our country, Baba. May so rest in peace. This is what he said. He was the MD of Cadbury. If you know Cadbury then, Cadbury was the main company in Nigeria. He said, if you think the problem of Nigeria is tough to, he said no. He said my recollection of history has shown to me that if you think the problem of Nigeria is tough today, the future might be more ridiculous. In 1983, what did he see that we did not see? He saw the way we are put together, and he's talking about. So, to answer your question, Lagos is a center of excellence because we are trying to provide a way to increase the basket. So we, for example, we formed the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. What does it do? Today, it has saved 31,000 jobs saved. Because if you look at the SMEs and MSMEs and so on, the problem is when they start, before they get to 5 years, 84% will apply. What does that mean? Men touch. People don't know how to keep accounts. They don't know how to employ. They don't know how to. So it's not like Aburu any employer. If you want to give Aburu money to do, then you get your money. But to run a business that will survive, you must have governance policies. How do you build it? So those are the things that LSFP was doing to build, let people understand how to do business. So we must, as a people, increase the capacity, our economic capacity. Without that, it will be challenging. But I'm sure you have other questions.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So, to the next question. So, if we take a step back into how the government itself works, what changes most in how you make decisions, and what has experience taught you about the gap between policy design and policy implementation, between what's planned in government and what people actually experience in their daily lives?
Fantastic question again. So I think the biggest gap that I've seen is that we need to make sure that we have youths in policy planning. So if we are, I know that if you are 50, 60, whatever, you have seen more Christmas, and that comes with experience. We know. But because the future belongs to certain group, the youth, and then because their own experience is different, it is very important that they are on the table. We are lucky in Lagos that we've done that. You know, I recall Dr. Maurice Bagler, he came to this great university. He became commissioner at the age of 33, and he was there for about 12 years. He's doing great things now. You know, BRF became the chief of staff at the age of 32, no 34, I'm sorry, and he became governor at 34. So the reality is you must have youth in the room, in the discussion as part of the policy. If you do that, but my challenge is this: being a youth is a natural law of progression. So don't let us take it as something special. It's a gift of God. Everybody must be a youth, and then you must keep growing. So all of us, by God's grace, will grow old. So, but that youth, we must take advantage of it. We must take advantage of it. We must use that energy to build something. You must bring something to the table, so that that table, you will not be, you will be overwhelmed if you don't have what it takes. So my pitch to you is, look, somebody said, understand yourself. I think it was Moremi. Fantastic, you must know yourself. If you cannot define yourself, you cannot dictate events. If you can't say, this is me, this is what I stand for, you will fall for anything. So you must stand for something. If not, you fall for everything. And that doesn't make any sense. That is the challenge that we are seeing in our country today. You know, I've listened to things like, oh, because of unemployment, that's why we have insecurity. Absolute baloney. Let me say that again. Absolute nonsense. You know why? In this country, people my age will know. When we were in secondary school in the 80s, almost all our teachers were Ghanaians. In the early 80s, the country called Ghana died, meaning economically collapsed. All their professionals left. They were in Nigeria. That was when we have a shop. If you get home, ask a Dikami shop. These are graduates. They never stole. They never commit What is the population of India? 1.2 million. 1.2 billion. 64% live below poverty line in India. What is that? University Wawa. That's about 500 million, whatever it is. They are poor. 500, that's the population of Nigeria times 2, plus some numbers. So the reality is, as a people, we lost it because we have not defined ourselves. So if we define yourself and say, this is me, can't do about Femi Hamzat, this is what I stand for, we will be great. Because Nigerians are probably the most brilliant people that in the world. I know that. I know that. In our university, so people say, oh, our education, I'm digressing, I'm sorry. People say our education, oh, it's not this. Is it true? It's not. It's not. Those people that tell you that the quality of your education is going down, they are the same people taking your doctor. They are recruiting your nurses. They are recruiting your teachers. Go to banks. Banks are losing tech guys today. They are going to Canada. They are going to Spain. They are going all over the world and they are excelling. But they are telling you that, your education is bad. Our education is great. What we need to do is define ourselves. So what government needs to do that we will be doing is to humanize our policies. Give our policies more human space. So what that means is we are building rail, yes. It's expensive, yes. How does it affect that man? How does it affect that woman? And what other nations have done is that we must then build residence around our sector. So for example, if you say you have the rail now from the blue line runs from Joko State all the way to Kokomaiko. It's not there yet. When it gets to Kokomaiko, at Kokomaiko we must bring down the estate. So that young man, and we must now not do this 1 year rent. We have the law, but we must enforce it. So that when somebody rents and is going to work, you can actually walk to a train station. You don't need a bus. Because we are building near train stations. That's what other nations do. So we must then, so it's about organization. Our African countries are not organized, except in South Europe. So if you go to Accra, you go to Togo, you go everywhere, it's the same organization. So how do we organize ourselves to make sure that young people leverage infrastructure and use it to build their life? So that's the next phase.
Thank you so much, sir. So, His Excellency is asking us, youth, what do you bring to the table? So we must know that we must increase the baskets. Thank you so much, sir, for that insightful conversation. So moving to the next question, sir. So when we look at young people in our everyday realities, we know that Lagos is producing graduates faster than it is creating employment opportunities. So from your perspective, Your Excellency, why have past youth employment schemes struggled to scale sustainably, and what is being done differently now?
Yeah, what is being done differently today is, government itself cannot create enough jobs. That's for the private sector. So what government should do is to make sure that we have an environment that allows private sector to thrive and do well and grow. Part of it is the macro economy that the president is attacking right now. And I met with some young people about 3 days ago. They've been in business for years, and they told me that in the last 2-3 years, the macroeconomic has actually improved, and they are employing more people. So I said, well, you are not talking. You don't seem to be talking, so that Nigerians don't seem to know this. He said, well, we are businessmen, we are just doing our job. Now you politicians, you can talk. But what that means is that as a government, we need to create more environment. So, for example, taxation. Companies now know, before there are about 49 taxes. But today now, based on the new tax law, is just 9. So every company knows the taxes they need to pay and who should collect it. Before, you see this local government, this state government, it's all over the place. So it doesn't attract investment. So for example, Lagos now has 17 data centers. Tech Cabal is building one. Airtel, through there also is building one. Equinox is building one. Equinox is now the largest data center in the world. What that means is plethora of jobs. You have bouquet of jobs. Nigerians are now doing a lot of work overseas. We train people in AI, we train people in cyber security, we train people in data protection and so on. And people are getting jobs outside the country. So we must therefore protect our image. So one of the things that government must also do is to protect the image of Nigeria so that they can trust us and give us jobs that require security clearance. Because a lot of Nigerians, even though you see them in Lagos, they're actually working for a company like that, even though they've not seen it. But they applied online, is doing the job, submit the project, get paid a lot of money. The challenge is we don't know how to tax them, but it's okay.
Thank you so much, sir. So, Your Excellency, I'm going to be moving back into the Teams Plus agenda, and because there stands for social inclusion and even youth equality, right? And that means ensuring that no one is left behind. But still, there are opportunities that are still uneven in Lagos. Right. So how is the state addressing the gap between young people in more connected urban areas and those in underserved communities, and ensuring that a young person's location does not determine their future?
Fantastic. I think that's one of the greatest things that confront us, that we must find a way to resolve. For Lagos State, I think the issue is very simple. We must start doing rent to ownership. Now, because the biggest challenge for most people is transportation and housing. So there is the statistics that say if your housing rent or bill exceeds 30%, then there is trouble. So we must make sure that in the governor's office there must be data of local government. To say that, in Agege local government, what was the data? So that what that does is allow you to say we are looking for properties. So I've always said it that the biggest challenge in West Africa and the rest is fiscal planning. It's fiscal planning. We are not, again I said it before, we are not organized. It's fiscal planning, because if government realizes that, okay, like I said, a train station, we want to build housing around that place, and 40% must be for women, 30% must be for youth, this percent must be for artisans, and so on and so forth. So the challenge is, even though we have master plans put into law, we have transport plans put into law, but implementation of the nation is lacking. So that's where, as a government, we need to do better. Make sure that we coordinate between our policies on paper and reality in life. And that's why connection with CDAs, CDC, youth is very important. So they know that in this community, this is what we have. I will give you a very practical example. In Isolo, Ogbetah side, I was commissioner for works, and we started expanding that road. Part of the problem there was drainage. So in Lagos, we are in most areas 2 meters below sea level. So if we build a road, we are not just moving cars or people, we are also moving water. So when we want to build a road, we must see where are we discharging water to. So we realize that some of our drains is 2 kilometers beyond the road. So the road terminates there, but the drain must go, because if you don't take that water away, you are just wasting resources. We wanted to build that place. And as we started, so this is the road. When we got here, there is a house right here, and this is the road. And we said, this house must go. And the good thing was that because we've done meetings, we've done everything, the man went, but all the neighbors were telling him, we told you when you were building this house that this road is on the road. The man, so we went to court, no problem, but what we did was the road was coming, so we stopped, because this is that, when we started the road. So the man was isolated. So we discussed, and we said, okay, we'll give you 60 million. I think this was 2012. He said no. Oh, well, the court now said we should pay only 40 million. So what should we do? we've offered 60, but the cost says 14. And then the house was demolished and we pay 14. So, but that's what the court said we should do. So, assuming he has agreed, so coordination between the community, and because people in his community, traders in his community, they came to court to say, well, we want him. So the court was like, okay, so you get it, okay. We will give you 60 million, we give you 14. And so it got 14. So, but engagement with the community is also very important. So what we need to do more, town hall meetings, to engage our people, to engage CPS, to engage everybody youth about our policy. And then our implementation will be better than it is today.
Thank you so much, sir. So for youth and organizations present here today, you must have systems, standards, and also a structure in place. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, sir. So I have another question. So if we look at the bigger picture, Lagos is one of... Don't worry, you will ask the questions. You will ask the question.
Look, they will allow you to ask questions. That's what she just said. Don't worry, just let her finish. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So if you look at the bigger picture, Lagos is one of Africa's most economically active cities, but also one of its most high-pressure environments for young people. So do you think we measure success too much by economic growth rather than the actual quality of life people experience, and how should governments respond to that?
Interesting. Well, the truth is, we measure GDP, but what does it mean? If somebody gets to the hospital and there's no medication, so what does GDP mean to that? It's useless. However, it must be both. So it stands on two levers, right? Because it's that GDP that allows you to increase the basket, as I said before. So if you don't have the resources, in this part of the world, we don't like debt. So I've seen state government get, maligned. Oh, the debt is too much. Well, let me tell you a story. When Ashwaji was governor of Lagos State, Ogbetah Main Bridge, you know the place. It's just legs. He wanted us to expand it to 4 lanes. At that time, the number of houses there are not many at all. So compensation will be very, very minimal. And all of us, the young people, Ashwaji, believe me, is a Democrat. We overrule him in council. We said, no, sir, it must be PPP. All of us were very theoretical. He said, let's go and do this thing. It was to cost us 1.8 billion to do that bridge, expand it. But we overruled it. He said, well, since there is a vote in a democracy, or the majority can be wrong. And we were wrong. He was right. Now, so if you want to build that bridge today, with the compensation is 41.1 billion. That same thing. So we could have done it then, but we did not. But we were thinking that, okay, with PPP, we can actually do it. We went out there, we were asking questions. So the reality is that policies, intention must be local. You cannot bring Bond Street idea. It will not work in Oshodi. It won't work at Yamapaja. Do you understand? So PPP, the way it is around the world, will not work here. We've seen that very clearly. So the challenge for us is how do we make sure that all these initiatives, because like I've said, government does not have enough resources to build everything that we need. That's why every state government, for example, have a deficit budget, meaning that we must borrow X in order to make sure that we're able to do whatever we need to do. So in order to do that, how do we put ourselves together to get not just foreign investment but also local investment? So how do we bridge the trust issue? Because the problem is trust. People who don't trust government enough. So for example, we have pensions that is now 40-something trillion, but it's sitting there. So those are the things we can use, but because of the trust issue, pensioners and Nigerians don't want us to use it, which is okay. But the challenge is you cannot eat the egg. You can't eat omelette without breaking the egg. So the problem is we wanted to eat omelette, but we don't want that egg to be broken. What am I saying? So we must make sure that we allow ourselves to galvanize our economy so that we can take care of our people. Remember, we are a busy nation, if you know what I mean. The population of Nigeria in 1960, during independence, was 48 million. 48. UK that gave us independence, their population then was 52 million. Today, their population is 56. How much is ours? So we are very busy. So something has to.
Please appreciate our deputy governor. So because all inclusion, please we're going to take just 2 questions. A guy and a lady. If you want to speak, stand up, let me see you. Alright, so I'm going to pick one from here, one from here. So let me start with the lady here. Let me give it to hold.
What a lot of people miss from the beginning. If you are not tying leadership to service, it is bad leadership. Service to humanity is the essence of why anybody should be in government in the first place. Am I correct? And the most important thing, when you disconnect from humanity, you naturally disconnect from the community. When you engage with humanity, you naturally engage with the community. Another quality that we have not really taken note of is the concept of vision and purpose. Everybody just wants to hold a title. Because Abebi was the youngest chairman that Lagos ever had.